He can fight, yeah. For boxers his level, yes.
Meaning what? Not your level?
I do not believe so, no.
Mike Tyson just unleashed a brutal attack on Jake Paul after the latter decided to open his mouth about the November 15th fight. Not only did Paul tarnish Tyson's legacy by spreading absurd rumors about the match being rigged, but now he's throwing out wild claims that Tyson needed money to step into the ring. Really, Jake?
I've always been in the gym training. I'm a boxing professional fighters. I'm just, activity is great. I had 15 fights in 1 year when I was younger, and I think activity is great.
Has been a global icon for decades. Is supposedly out here begging a YouTuber for money? Seriously? But let's take a moment. Does Jake even understand the rules of boxing, or is he just making things up as he goes? It's hard to say, but at this point, it's obvious that Jake Paul has no clue what he's talking about. And he's about to pay the price for it. Honestly, the Tyson-Paul fight was the boxing match no one asked for, but somehow created controversy. You might say unclear why, but frankly, the Tyson-Paul fight was the boxing match no one asked for. But somehow, we couldn't look away.
Tyson is getting back in the ring. He's 58 years old. He's facing off against YouTuber turned boxer, 27-year-old Jake.
News broke that 57-year-old Mike Tyson would face off against 27-year-old Jake Paul. The internet collectively raised its eyebrows. Was this a legitimate fight or just the world's strangest midlife crisis? Critics were already labeling it a circus before the first bell even rang. The age gap was barely the biggest concern. On one side, you had Tyson, a living legend. On the other, Jake Paul, a social media star turned boxer, whose greatest talent seems to be making headlines on Twitter. The whole match felt like mixing vintage wine with cheap soda. Then came Jake's most ridiculous claim, the so-called financial rescue theory. According to him, Tyson practically begged for the fight because he needed the payday. Seriously, Jake, the same Tyson who built a cannabis empire and probably has more money.
Is an alleged script leak. This has not been confirmed. Take it with a grain of salt. No one knows if this is real.
Than you've made from your crypto investments. Fans were furious. Interviews. Just when the hype around the fight was starting to die down, enter the script leak. But this wasn't just some shady Reddit rumor. It was a fully detailed, round-by-round breakdown of how the fight was supposedly going to unfold. Tyson starts strong with his iconic bob and weave. Jake survives the storm, and by round 5, Tyson hits the mat after a perfectly timed right hook. It sounded like something straight out of a Hollywood writer's room. Fans were stunned by how specific the script was and how eerily close it mirrored what actually happened. Tyson looked slower, Jake more precise. Even the part about Tyson getting cut above the eye seemed spot on. Suddenly, the fight felt less like a legitimate boxing match and more like a WrestleMania event with a better...
Exactly. I started to manifest. Thank you. I started Jake Paul off.
PR team. From internal team talk, security guard returned after escaping a meeting. Tyson was actually writing funnier jokes than usual. He's always my best in the film. Meanwhile, Tyson stayed unusually quiet. No furious denials, no public outbursts. It was almost as if he was letting people talk, or maybe he was just trying to figure out who leaked the plot twist to the public. After all, if there really was a contract with a non-disclosure clause, someone was about to be in serious trouble. But Jake, being Jake, couldn't keep his mouth shut. On his podcast, he casually mentioned that
I love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy, we love him and his legacy.
He eased off during the fight to avoid hurting Tyson because, he was the real threat. That little comment exploded faster than one of Tyson's uppercuts. Was Jake admitting the fight was staged? Was he just bragging? Or worse, was he too clueless to realize he just spilled a career-ending secret? At that point, the Tyson-Paul fight went from controversial to outright legendary for all the wrong reasons. Fans weren't just questioning the match anymore. They were completely rewriting the storyline in their heads. My Summerwell helm, the Tyson-Paul fight, would soon feature, Patience snapped faster than Jake Paul's claims of being a legitimate boxer. After weeks of hearing accusations about the fight being rigged and watching that absurd leaked script spread like wildfire, Tyson finally hit back. And this time, it wasn't with his fists. In an interview with Fox Sports Radio, the former heavyweight champion shot down the rigging rumors, flatly declaring, "It was a real fight." He didn't just say it, he practically growled it, daring anyone to question whether getting punched 78 times was part of some grand conspiracy. And let's be clear, Tyson wasn't just brushing off the allegations. He was livid. His point was simple.
Going to talk Darren Till versus Tommy Fury / John Fury, of course. But first, some more important and quite serious news in the combat sports world. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, it's come out now. It was rigged. I can't believe it. You know, you have to question the validity of boxing these days when you can't trust two professionals to get in the ring and do their best against each other. And instead you find out Mike Tyson pulling these punches, not trying to hurt Jake Paul. Absolute disgrace. I thought better of them. You know, I really did. I thought that Mike Tyson, especially, Iron Mike, he was just going to go in there and knock Jake clean out. But here he is, not trying. I'm so disappointed in him. But you don't need to take it from me.
You don't fake waking up the next day feeling like you've been run over by a cement truck. Intervise. But this wasn't just about physical pain. Tyson's real fury stemmed from what the rigging rumors did to his legacy. For Tyson, it wasn't just an insult. It was a slap in the face with brass knuckles. His legendary status now carried an asterisk, thanks to a viral fight script that sounded more like a rejected Rocky sequel than anything real. Behind the scenes, the whispers only got juicier. Insiders claimed there was a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, involved, the kind that comes with ominous all-caps legal warnings. If true, this would have prevented anyone from revealing that the fight was anything less than 100% authentic. Yet Jake Paul couldn't resist twisting the truth on his podcast. He casually claimed he eased off during the match, as if he were some kind of merciful boxing deity, sparing Tyson for his own good. This wasn't just Jake being cocky.
But that changed when Paul clenched with Tyson. It's alleged he whispered into Tyson's ear to cool.
It was potentially NDA-breaking cockiness. Jake had crossed a line, one thicker than Tyson's boxing gloves. Sources hinted that Tyson was ready to go full legal bulldog if that NDA really existed. If Jake had indeed broken the rules, it would have been more than just a legal issue. It was a threat to the brand Tyson had spent decades building, and a brand Jake Paul was now dragging through the mud for the sake of content and clicks. But the fight itself only added fuel to the fire. Statistically, Jake Paul outperformed Tyson in nearly every measurable way. 78 punches landed compared to Tyson's measly 18. On paper, it looked like a boxing masterclass in domination, except for one glaring problem.
And one reason only, and that is the money. He's getting paid so much money to do this. So that tells me he's getting bored. So again, it is sad that someone like Mike Tyson...
This was Mike Tyson, the man who knocked out legends with fewer punches than that on his worst days. Watching Tyson struggle to land even a few clean shots felt like seeing Superman lose a wrestling match to SpongeBob. Yet, ringside footage told a different story. From the crowd's perspective, the hits looked brutal and painfully real. Tyson didn't seem like someone playing a scripted role. He looked like a fighter desperately trying to relive past glory while his body begged him to quit. His iconic bob and weave now resembled more of a slow shuffle, and his punches had the speed of a buffering YouTube video. Even Tyson himself admitted to feeling off. He confessed to blinking out mid-fight, which only raised more eyebrows. Was it exhaustion, age, or something deeper that nobody saw coming? Whatever it was, his sluggish performance only fueled the conspiracy theories, even though the truth might have been far less dramatic. It's the undeniable march of time, just the undeniable march of time. Then came the aggression factor. Ringside analysts began to notice something unusual. Jake Paul wasn't holding back. He was throwing punches with bad intentions, landing sharp combinations and even cutting Tyson above the eye. You could see Jake's competitive streak kicking into overdrive, as if he'd forgotten he was supposed to be the entertainer and instead started fighting like a man desperate for legitimacy. And you know what was driving all of this? Money. Jake Paul never wanted to pass up an opportunity to stir the pot, claimed that Mike Tyson approached him out of financial desperation. According to Jake, Tyson needed the fight to keep his bank account from running on empty. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that at the time, interviews? And then there's the juicy pay-per-view debate. Industry insiders whispered that both fighters walked away with hefty seven-figure paydays. But did Tyson feel shortchanged? Maybe, especially if Jake pocketed more due to his internet clout. That would have stung Tyson's already bruised pride. Imagine spending decades building a legendary career only to be out-earned by a guy famous for pranking strangers on YouTube. Then you say ouch. Or the real question, though, is whether Tyson's return to the ring was a strategic business move or a desperate grasp at glory. Some say he just wanted one last taste of the spotlight before retirement, or maybe he wanted to prove that even at 57, he could still rearrange someone's face. But stepping into the ring with Jake Paul wasn't just risky. It was like a retired lion challenging a loud-mouthed hyena. Tyson might have been thinking easy payday, but he clearly underestimated how far Jake would go for clout. Social media wasn't kind either. Fans roasted Jake for allegedly disrespecting Tyson, accusing him of milking the fight for publicity while trashing a living legend. Memes, think pieces, and angry tweets flew like punches in a street brawl. In the court of public opinion, Jake wasn't just the villain. He was the final boss of boxing trolls. Intervives. Tyson, rumor has it. Tyson didn't just walk away from the fight. He stormed off, leaving behind a trail of blistering words aimed squarely at Jake Paul. Insider sources claim Tyson delivered a verbal knockout in a private post-fight conversation, telling Jake, "Stop ruining my legacy and keep my name out of your clout-chasing mouth." It's like Tyson, sharp, direct, and ready to bite back. There's even speculation that Tyson's team is considering legal action for potential contract violations. If Jake really did hint at fight fixing on his podcast, he might have broken the golden rule of celebrity fights. Don't talk about the script. Tyson's lawyers are reportedly watching the situation closely, ready to strike if Jake keeps running his mouth. So what does all this chaos mean for the future of boxing? Has the sport crossed the point of no return, where hype and headlines now matter more than skill and legacy? Can boxing survive when the matches feel more scripted than spontaneous? And most importantly, how long before fans stop tuning in altogether, tired of wondering whether they're watching a real contest or just another pay-per-view soap opera? The surge started in 2005, and what I want to know is, the ring was once a place where legends were forged. Now, it started to look like just another stage.